It was a good tree. It served us well. But it's January 15th and it's time to go down. Thank you for your service, tree. All right. Got a fancy new wireless mic for Christmas from my wife. I am completely covered in pine needles this morning from that Christmas tree. I still feel one in my arm, but I can't get to it right now because my jacket's on. So today our plan is pretty simple. It actually warmed up nicely. The sun came out. Today is January 15th, I think. I'm checking my phone. It is the 13th. Okay. So today we're gonna do what I've been putting off, and we're gonna spray our trees. All right. So the question is, why spray fruit trees at all? So I'm very big on like not using pesticides if I can in my garden completely. I've never sprayed really my tomatoes with anything other than just organic fertilizer, but even then it's pretty rare. I have sprayed my roses with like a Castile soap mixture, Castile soap and water, maybe just to kill some of the aphids, but I don't even find that particularly effective either. So generally speaking, I don't spray anything. However, my fruit trees are one exception. So I did a lot of research to try to make sure that I was doing something as safe as possible, because I do plan on eating these apples and peaches, obviously, and I got a child and I want her to be safe too. So my research found two things that can be used. So we'll get to that, but let me first explain why we're spraying. So in my particular neck of the woods in Northeast US, we tend to have pretty humid summers, and that leads to a fungal growth, generally speaking. So specifically with some of the dogwoods in my yard, but especially with some of the apple trees, we tend to get something called powdery mildew. Now, powdery mildew is unsightly. It doesn't kill the tree, but it definitely weakens the tree, because what it does is it basically covers the leaves with this fungus, and it makes it very difficult for it to photosynthesize. So it weakens the tree. So it doesn't directly kill the tree, but obviously a weak tree can invite other diseases. It can be harder to heal from damage, and so you definitely want to kind of cut that back. So I actually reached out to our local extension office in Rutgers just to confirm that I had powdery mildew. So that's a great resource, by the way. If you ever have a question about something in your garden, it's nice to take a picture of it and send it to your local extension office. It's usually attached to your local community college, but an extension office is a really great resource to help you determine, what's going on with your garden. But anyway, once I diagnosed that my dogwood trees specifically were suffering from powdery mildew, I started to notice maybe a couple leaves here and there on my brand new apple trees were starting to show signs of it. Um, so the trees. So another big thing to keep this in mind is number one treatment isn't spraying. Right, the number one treatment is to pick varieties that are resistant to the particular organism. So powdery mildew tends to be pretty pervasive. I have found that a couple of the apple trees that I have grown are some of them are more susceptible, some of them are less susceptible. Generally speaking, a lot of the newer apples have been bred with some powdery mildew resistance. Liberty apple is a great one that's very resistant to a lot of different diseases. Also, the Williams Pride apple that I'm growing does have some disease resistance as well. Any of the PRI apples tend to do pretty well. And I have a couple other ones in my garden right now that are growing that are hopefully also disease resistant. But so that's number one, is you want to pick varieties that are resistant. But the next thing you can do to help resist, specifically against powdery mildew, is spray. So what I choose to do is a mixture of two different two different uh, uh, additives. So the first one is just some horticultural oil. You know, I'm not sponsored by these guys, clearly, but so if you can find a good horticultural oil, this is mineral oil specifically. Um, and what this does is it basically helps your second additive stick onto the tree. It helps cut down some bug growth. So when bugs dig into the barks of trees, they'll lay their eggs sometimes. And so by putting in this oil, number one, it helps prevent that from occurring. But number two, kind of smothers if there is any bug eggs like on the tree. It'll help them. It'll help decrease their populations. So that's an effective mixture. Um, and number three is mineral oil safe. I mean, it's literally food oil. It's a food additive. I mean, don't eat too much of it because that'll make sure it'll work as a laxative. But generally speaking, it is something we can use it to cover our, our cutting boards, and we condition like our kitchen wood with it, So it's very safe and very benign, and this is not anything to be worried about. Now, the one thing you may be a little bit more concerned about is this, and this is the main fungicide. This is copper spray, all right? So copper is a naturally occurring metal. Your body actually does require a small degree of copper in order to function. So we do use copper in our body systems. But, copper in large doses, like anything else, can potentially be toxic. Now, in the doses that we're talking about, this is such a low concentration that is very, 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 very unlikely that it would cause any severe illness. The other thing too is that this particular copper spray, so if you buy anything organic from the market, copper spray is so safe that in order to meet organic requirements, copper spray is allowed. So even if you are growing organic trees somewhere, or you're growing organic fruit, organic vegetables, if you use this particular copper spray as directed, then you still meet criteria for being organic. So it's very safe. It's very neutral. We only spray in the winter, so it doesn't actually affect growing fruits and leaves. So what this does is this is a preventative. So we spray this on to prevent fungus from forming. And so as the copper's gone already from the tree, it's been washed away. It's into the atmosphere. It's already done its effect, its protective effect. So so these are the two that I use. Again, I just like to do a mixture of these and then spray them on my trees. So when do you spray? Well, what I was always told was the 3-time-a-year rule. It's Christmas, New Year's, and Valentine's Day. If you spray around Thanksgiving, New Year's, and Valentine's Day. If you spray 3 times in the off season, that's usually totally enough to protect your trees. I will say that last year I only sprayed once, like late, like February. I already noticed a significant effect on my dogwood trees that are usually typically very, they were severely affected by the powdery mildew last year or 2 years ago. And when I did spray it last year, I noticed a significant improvement just with one spray. So I did miss our Thanksgiving one. We've had a lot of weird weather around here lately. Today's like kind of the first day I've really had a chance to go out and do this. So we're just going to go spray and see how it goes. So now the formula that I've read, we're just going to follow the package instructions. So this is backwards because I have the front-facing camera on. But this says 2 fluid ounces per gallon, of copper fungicide, and then we're going to do 5 tablespoons per gallon of the horticultural spray, the horticultural oil. All right. So these tips actually are gradated. They're hard to see, but there is a gradation there. So this says 5. So our recipe says 5 tablespoons for the first one. All right. We're just going to pour that in. So that was our neem oil, or our oil. And then The next one, pop that off. I'm just going to give it a quick shake. Just kind of mix it all up. The oil is just whatever, but this is a suspension of copper, so I want to mix it a little bit. It's got that really cool blue color that you would expect with copper. This is 2 fluid ounces, which is about halfway per gallon. Okay. All right. Great. So now we're just going to fill this up to our gallon mark for water, and then we'll get some gloves on and we'll start spraying. So I'll post some articles in the link about safety of copper spray and how it can be used effectively to treat your some of your moderate fungal problems on your local trees. But for now, we just put a mask on, and we're just going to start spraying. All right, I tightened some connectors on my sprayer. I'm ready to start spraying. So I have my mask on. I'm making sure that I'm spraying upwind, or is this downwind? I don't know. The wind's behind me. And we're going to start spraying in that direction. Again, copper isn't toxic, but it can be irritating to the skin. So I'm just taking extra precautions. You could wear gloves. My sprayer works well enough that my hands will stay dry. My, Columbia shell is enough to protect my skin, I believe. And I am wearing a mask just in case, because I don't really want to breathe it in and have to deal with the irritation. But so you can't really see it right now, but I'm going to show you that you can actually see the branch kind of turn dark, and that means that you're getting appropriate spraying coverage. So it's all up and down the tree, all the branches. Again, we're trying to stay away from the wind just to make sure we're staying safe here. But there we go. That's it. Well, this side needs a little bit. But just like that, one tree's done. It's that easy. So you didn't get a great before picture, but you can tell that the bark looks a little darker. It looks like moist. That means you got a good adequate coverage to it. So that's all it takes. You got a couple more to go. This is perhaps a bit unscientific, but something I've noticed is that the lower branches seem to be affected by the powdery mildew before the top branches. So that, suggests to me that the disease spreads from the ground upwards. So what I don't really mind that I can't get up to the very top of the tree to spray it. I think just by coating the bases and the lower branches that we're doing a good job of giving the tree some protection. Something else the extension office told me was like, if you feel comfortable spraying, you could do this. But be aware that the biggest, concern isn't toxic exposure, from copper. What it is it's falling off the tree. And a lot of people every year get hurt because they go up on ladders and they think that they're smart enough to be able to spray the top of the tree safely. They lean over too far, or they try to get that last branch and then they end up face planting. And that is definitely ladders are a underrated safety hazard. People who work in the trades know how dangerous ladders truly can be. I'm definitely trying to focus on these extending branches that tend to go towards the other trees, you know, because I don't want to encourage tree to tree transmission. Oh, we got a little buggy there. Interesting. I will come back another day and, you know, investigate for pests. Like I said, right now I'm just trying to take my time, slowly spray some of these branches. Check the trunks out here, make sure we get good even coverage. Like I said, the combination of the copper and the oil tends to leave a darker coloration, so you know the areas that you got and which ones maybe you need to focus on a little bit more. We're staying downwind, or upwind, or whatever the correct expression is. Downwind, I believe. So the wind is to our back, so we're not spraying ourselves in the face. And the last thing we're going to do is wash our hands. Get some of that stuff off just in case, you know, we're being extra cautious here. So we do need to get some pruning done here. I can already tell there's some overlapping branches that I'm not hugely fond of here. There's some damaged branches, so I think that's a good tip. Something else you can be doing now while you're spraying is investigating your tree, looking, kind of see what areas need to be pruned, what's damaged. But this tree's already looking so healthy. I'm already seeing so much growth. I'm seeing buds already on this. Again, we're in January right now. Zone 7, 7A, somewhere in between there. And I'm just really encouraged by all the growth here. And again, I'm not going crazy here. I'm not going to try and hit every single branch. I'm not climbing a ladder. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just being thorough, covering each branch, following it up, staying out of the wind. That's pretty much it. All right, it's a pretty good job. So we got 5, 6, 7, 8 trees. 8 trees done. Took less than an hour. It took about 1 gallon of mixture, and we're ready to go. Thank you all so much for watching. That pretty much is it for today. I have a lot of other things to do today. It's already getting late in the day. I woke up kind of late, but you know, thanks for helping me. Thanks for encouraging me, I think, to get out and record this. I'm a little bit self-conscious about this. I'm not typically used to being on camera, and I don't really want to become, you know, particular. You know, I just don't particularly. I consider myself somewhat of a private person, but I also do see the benefit of recording my journal throughout the year. Yeah, and I think this is a better way than keeping a written journal because I get to share it a little bit easier with people. So consider it this. Again, this is why I call it Nick's Garden Journal, is because it is my journal throughout the year. So, so thanks for watching. Check out the haiku that I'm going to post on every video. It's kind of going to be our thing to kind of help us keep track of the year as well in like in a nice little poetic form. And see you next time.